often hear a lot of people talk about how good the 2004 movie is or how good the theater is, but not that many people talk about how good the original novel is. So, if you're here to listen to someone compliment your favorite book, or if you want to know whether it is worth reading or not, you're in the right place. Hello everyone, my name is Anne. Welcome to my channel in which I'm gonna be talking about literature, history, art, fashion, and many other interesting subjects as well. Briefly, Phantom of the Opera is a novel that centers around a disfigured, masked genius known to the people of the opera as the Phantom, who falls in love with Christine Daae, a young opera singer that was noticed to have become vastly more talented the moment he started tutoring her. This book also features a love triangle between Christine, the Phantom, and Raoul, who is deeply in love with his childhood best friend and is trying really hard to protect her from the Phantom of the Opera. However, it is not a love story, it is much deeper than that. As a whole, it revolves around topics such as obsession, the contrast of beauty and identity, and it is overall really scary. So, if you like beautifully written scary stories, this book is for you. For those of you who did not know, Phantom of the Opera is a novel written by the French writer and journalist Gaston Leroux, published between September 1909 and January 1910 as a series in the French newspaper Le Gaulois, only to be released as a complete volume in March 1910 in collaboration with Pierre Lafitte. Originally, the publication was not known as the one we read today. Leroux first wrote with more of a investigation persona, showing evidence and trying to convince the reader that Eric had, in fact, truly existed. It was inspired by a tragic event that took place in the opera house, where a chandelier was set on fire and fell, taking the life of a person. This person supposedly then haunted the opera. Later on, getting rid of cliffhangers necessary only for daily readers and adding a more narrative polish, the feuilleton was transformed into a timeless Gothic romance novel that we can appreciate fully at any time. As I said, Phantom of the Opera is an infamous mystery and Gothic novel that captures uncountable beautiful horrors and enigmatic conditions. However, this novel is not like the other classic Gothic novels that we know, such as Frankenstein or Dracula, that directly takes benefit of Gothic locations such as castles or abbeys. Phantom of the Opera takes place in an opera, which is a place symbolizing wealth, prestige, and luxury. Nevertheless, Leroux was able to contrast beauty and horror with the power of words, descriptions, and deep emotions. Paris is so public and beautiful, which makes it even more so terrifying. This shows that most morbid stories can thrive even in the brightest buildings, if the writer does it right, of course. Being able to hide in a silenced empty castle is something, but doing it in an opera that is so crowded is more stupendous. Now, what ideas or objects other than the location carry a deeper feeling to empathize this eerie story? My first and most obvious thought will be Eric, the ghost. This is the most direct symbol that makes Phantom of the Opera fall into the Gothic category. He was described using the most atrocious yet magnificent descriptions. Gaston Leroux has a way with words like no other and allows you to live the moment as if you were present in the scene with the characters, and so reading such expressive phrases while being kept on your toes. Another symbol of the Gothic atmosphere would be the ghost's mask. Was it only a piece of plaster to hide the scary appearance, or was it an asset to mask an undesired being? To me, the mask meant a refuge, a shield, a safeguard that allowed Eric to conceal who he truly was inside and attempt to make himself acceptable, although he knew nothing near acceptance would come of it eventually. It is a light truth that not only the Phantom used to shun the reality, but many others used as well, disguised under other costumes such as a twisted personality, a sugar-coated word, a manipulated action, or anything that is shown to the exterior in order to appeal to society. So perhaps Eric's mask was only an exacerbated solution after all, and this leads us to think, were other members of high society shown in the book wearing masks as well, only without the plaster? Other than that, we also have many other motifs that add into the haunting ambiance. For instance, the psychology, La Chambre des Supplices or the torture chamber based on the translation, the graveyard scene, and so on. Phantom of the Opera is also a contrast, a juxtaposition, a constant battle between beauty and horror, between love and hatred. We see these constant contradictions throughout the book, and the most important for me is Eric's character, this mad yet genius figure, where we start off absolutely horrified by his doings and his ideas, but towards the end, this antipathy we feel towards him is accompanied by some pity, as we learn more and more about his background and history. At the end of the day, the need to be loved and to feel loved is not something that the Phantom easily dealt with. Having been feared and rejected his whole life, his current personality and his atrocious tricks is just a reflection of atrocities he himself faced. Before I conclude this video, I would love to read some passages from early on in the book that I would love to share with you. Quand on l'entend dans Hamlet, on se demande si Shakespeare est venu des Champs-Élysées lui faire répéter Ophélie. Il est vrai que, quand elle ceint le diadème d'étoiles de la Reine de la Nuit, Mozart de son côté doit quitter les demeures éternelles pour venir l'entendre. Mais non, il n'a pas à se déranger, car la voix aiguë et vibrante de l'interprète magique de sa flûte enchantée vient le trouver dans le ciel, qu'elle escalade avec aisance exactement comme elle a su, sans effort, passer dans sa chaumière du village de Scotloff au palais d'or et de marbre bâti par Monsieur Garnier. Overall, I think this book was a perfect fictionalized investigation, especially for that time where superstition was so common, but also for today as we can reflect the themes included in the books on today's events. I personally found this book incredible, and I'm sure you do if you read it as well, and if you haven't, I highly recommend you do. Now, I have much more things to say, but I'm going to stop here. If you have made it this far, thank you and have the greatest day. Goodbye.